So you want to know more about the fabric calculator on my website. So this is the video. So let's jump right in. I want to begin with Inventora because that is where the rabbit hole began. By the way, if you didn't know, Inventora was started by Diana, had a little fragrance business at home and got tired of spreadsheets and decided to go look for a online alternative to keeping track of inventory. And if any of you have ever tried to do that, you come across big, huge programs that are meant for industries. So she ended up creating Inventora, which is meant for us little hobbyists and crafters. It is completely free. It's fully functioning. The only thing a paid subscription gets you is the ability to add more things. Okay, back to the problem at hand. So here we are in Inventora. I've got my materials in here, but I want to add my first product. And I'm going to call this purple bag. This is a purple bag that I make, and I want to see exactly how much it's costing me to make this bag. So the thing I want to go down to first is select material. I've previously entered this, so I have purple cotton fabric that is 54 inches wide. Let's say that their pattern calls for half a yard. Half a yard is going to cost you $3.55. You can also add more materials, continue to add everything together so you know exactly what the cost of this is. But the problem really for me was I needed to know exactly how much fabric I was using. If you're a bag designer or somebody who designs patterns and you have all your pattern pieces and you want to know exactly how much fabric to recommend, if you're like me and just what the pattern calls for is not accurate enough for you, or you really want to get granular and figure out exactly how much it is, let's say that instead of putting in yards, you decide, okay, I'm going to do inches. For this example, let's say that you had a piece that was 15 by 10. So you would calculate how many square inches, right? So 150 square inches. Now that we have inches selected, let's go ahead and put in the 150 square inches. Now, if you go down here to the fabric cost, all of a sudden it is way more expensive than your half a yard. So what's the problem? The problem is it's not considering square inches. Let's go over here to show you what I mean. So say you've got a piece of fabric, 54 inches wide. Let's cut that off to make it a perfect square. And this side is 36 inches or 1 yard. What Inventora thinks is that you are using 1 inch of the entire width of the yard. So what we need to do is figure out the square inches that are available. We can go ahead and calculate this. Obviously, you would just multiply 54 by 36 and you'd come up with 1,944. So 36 times 54 is 1,944 square inches for a 54-inch piece of fabric. And remember, this number will be different for every fabric width that you end up using. Real quick, what do I mean when I say margins? I'm talking about the extra fabric that you would normally waste when cutting out a pattern piece, especially if you interface it first and then cut it down to size after. Or if you have a piece of directional fabric that you need to fussy cut, there's going to be some waste there as well. I wanted to know exactly how many square inches I was using in my pattern. So say I had a piece of fabric, it is 15 by 11 inches. If I want to add margins, so for instance, in this case, 1 inch all the way around, that would give me a total of 17 by 13, which is 1 inch on the left, 1 inch on the top, 1 inch on the right, 1 inch on the bottom. Pretty simple, straightforward. But what if, say, I have a curved piece? In this instance, this is a example of a piece from my Islander travel tote pattern. It's not exactly right dimension wise, but it illustrates the example of having a piece that is not square. So you'd have to consider all of the area around the piece that ends up getting used or wasted because you have to cut this pattern piece out. While this is not completely accurate, I feel like it's a great movement in the direction of calculating the actual cost of fabric. So in this case, the complete piece of fabric that would need to be used in order to make this is, say, 7 inches across and 3 inches down. This is not accurate. This is just for this example, which would give us a total of 21 square inches. And for the purposes of this demonstration, I am going to just add a third piece so that we have another dimension to consider. Our pattern piece is 3 by 1. We're doing a 1 inch margin all the way around, and that gives us a 5 by 3, which is 15 square inches. So in order to calculate, we would take 221 and then 21 inches, and add that, and then 15 inches and add that, for a total of 257 square inches. Take the total square inches that we know about and we'll divide that by the total square inches in our yard, right? Which gives us a total of 0.1322065, or roughly 13%. So percentage 1 yard used for your project. So if you don't want to have to do that math every single time you go over to Inventora, or you're just trying to figure it out, this is where my calculator comes in. So go over to my website, calculators, fabric calculator. And this will pop up with a fillable form that does all of the same math that we just did for you. Just as a quick introduction of the page, there is a help section down below that is collapsed and you can open it up, and it explains what each of the items in the calculator mean in more detail in case you don't understand. This is a link. Go to Inventora. It is, again, free. They do have a paid option if you want to use the bigger version of it. This link is affiliate link that gives me a tiny bit of money if you do sign up, and we end up helping each other out, and I think that's fantastic. This calculator is completely free and it will continue to stay free forever and ever. So if you appreciate it and you would like to quote unquote buy me a cup of coffee, what that really means is just make a $3 donation. And every little bit helps, and I would be truly grateful. Back up to the fabric calculator. Let's jump right in. This top bit, you have to choose whether it is inches or whether it's centimeters. If you choose centimeters, it not only changes all of the notations and wording, but it also changes all the math behind the scenes. So it's important that you go ahead and choose your correct measurement type. So let's remember, our uncut fabric was 54 inches. We wanted 1-inch margins. And our first piece was 15 by 11. And if you look, it adds the margins onto it. So remember, one on the left, one on the top, one on the right, one on the bottom. So that would give you a total of 17 by 13, and it does add this up as you go down below. The second one was a 5 by 1 piece with a total area of 7 by 3. That was that curved piece that we were talking about. And then that last little bit that I added in just for the sake of having an additional piece is 3 by 1 and ends up being 5 by 3. And if you look down here, it does give us that 257. So it's added it all correctly. This first box up here in the results area is where all the magic happens. All the math that we calculated just previously is done here. The square inches is just a recap of this over here. The cost is something that you can choose to do or not to do if you're not using Inventora. Maybe you just simply want to know what the cost of one piece is and you don't want to go through all the trouble of starting an Inventora account. So let's go ahead and enter our receipt information here. Say we bought 3 yards of that fabric and we paid $22 for it. We got a discount on it. You would enter that as a positive number. It will subtract it. If you look down here, it's doing a receipt total. We got it from Amazon, so there was no shipping, but we did have to pay some tax on it. The percentage of a yard is the amount that we need to add to Inventora. So let's go back to Inventora and change our measurement type back to yards. We want to add the percentage of a yard. So if we look down here, the 92 cents equals what I have in the calculator because the materials were previously saved in Inventora. A quick check of our cost of fabric used shows that it matches what we have in Inventora. And there's this one area here where you can name this fabric. That way, if you decide to screenshot this, you can, because there is no way to save this. In fact, if you want to go ahead and reset everything, you go up here to the reload and it will go ahead and wipe everything out for you and reset it. Well, there you have it. Hopefully some of this information helped you out a bit. If you have any other questions, you're welcome to email me. Also, this is completely free and of my own goodwill. And if you would like to say thank you, show a little support, buy me a coffee. Life does not exist without coffee. So I appreciate it. Thanks for watching.